we are now going into it, the final game of the Big Bang qualifiers. This is to decide who is going through from Group E, Ledgerfed or Batar, and they are playing on Berg. And for some reason, the players have chosen the world's most boring colours.
Hey, now, don't be knocking the black and green.
Yeah, the boring colours. Seeing
What?
some exciting oranges and whites and light blues. Instead, we have black and green.
Well, it's going to be a lot easier to find them on this planet. I mean, the whole thing's Berg, literally.
Just before we kick off this final game, I want to remind everyone that these are the qualifiers, obviously, for the finals. The finals will be taking place next week on the 18th of July at 1800 UTC. So the final 8 players will be competing for a $300 prize pool, $200 going to the winner. So make sure that you join us on this same channel next week to check out the competition. But before then, we do have the final game of the qualifiers. We have 7 people have gone through already. This is the last of the 8. There's been some surprises. There've been some not so surprising victories, and we are ending with this. I think what's going to be an incredibly tight game.
This one definitely is, I think, one of the few matches that have actually been very indecisive, personally. I don't think I've seen these two. It's currently, though, Ledgerfed down 1 game. He needs to get the revenge kill on Patah to have the opportunity, but go ahead and do it. Do it how you do it, Quitch. Do the introductions.
Up go the bot factories. So we have Ledgerfed putting my bot
No,
factory.
no, no, the names, boy, the names. Introduce them.
Haven't we introduced them several times already?
Do it again for the new people.
For those of you
For the kids, man.
For those of you just joining us, your casters here today are Quitch and Ghost.
Hello.
Suck. And we
Ouch.
have Patar taking on Ledgerfed in their contest earlier. Ledgerfed being defeated by Patar in a Docks rush on Forge. Finally mispositioning his tanks and allowing Patar to sweep into his base in what was a very convincing victory. But this is Berg, very different. We see Patar going for a 3 bot opening here, while Ledgerfed going very air heavy. He's going bot, air, vehicle. Very different.
Ledgerfed, I think he's going to be playing to that air strategy. Definitely going to be using that double air factory at, I think, about 3 minutes here to his advantage. That's going to be the deciding factor. Will Patah allow Ledgerfed to snowball to a point where he can really just fly in, kill something, and then fly away, not really losing too much to it?
Well, maybe he's guessing what that Patar's going to do another bot rush, because if he's going heavy air...
no, he just scouted it.
Yeah, well, but he's already got the factories queued up. So if he's got his 2 air factories queued up and he's anticipating bot rush, then that's going to be a really effective counter to mass bots moving around the ground. It's going to be flying his bombers over. He can take a really fast lead. I'm pained, though. I am pained by the inefficiency of this factory placement. A vehicle factory that's forcing the commander to walk further than he needs to. Place the vehicle factory on the other side of the commander. Minimize that walking.
But then would that even be professional level? I mean, like, let's be real here.
And you see Patar's already got his 3rd factory up, and Ledgerfed lagging a little behind, but taking an expansion lead, getting his radar up. He's not going to be surprised. He's going to know what's going on, and I think that radar will reach most of the way to Patar's base. Won't get it into the base, though. I remember my radar ranges.
I believe. Don't think he'll be even getting near the base. Actually, I think he'll be showing probably the metal extractors, and that's about it. But
yeah,
he did
I think
scout.
it covers the center, right?
Yeah, I think it safely covers the center. But this air army of Ledgerfed, though, already starting to pay its dividends, picking off the docks as they fly around. Patah needs to, he needs to start kind of getting something out to counter this. He needs to get probably double air factories of his own and just go mass anti-air or something. But bad rallies here from Ledgerfed. He's going to lose one bomber and 1 anti-air fabricator or fighter. Goodness gracious, for no real reason. And these docks, though, actually killing off the bomber that was trying to go after the fabricator for Patah.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what was up with that. I'm trying to score a quick fabric around the back there, but it's just really poor positioning. And we see all these docks rallied out to the side of Patar's base. That's where he should be bombing. Take out those ground troops. And actually, they're idling fabric as well. A bit sloppy by Patar there. Yeah, but take out those ground troops. Remove any pressure from his own base so he's free to expand.
Yeah, I mean, in a game of flying around trying to kill things with this giant snowball, definitely the best place to do it is on Berg. Bomber going to fly in. Now, the only thing that I could see saving Patan is his micro with the docks. Of course, I've seen it quite a few times where, I mean, a player will go mass docks against mass air, and as long as the docks have that just magical connection that they need, they can easily slaughter the air army. The thing is, they just need to be in that high enough number, and it's kind of just like with tanks, where as long as the docks are winning in terms of numbers, they can easily kill a tank army. But the minute you go dock for air bomber, the docks are donezo.
Well, I'm not sure why there is an Inferno in with those docks there. That's kind of bizarre. But
it's a spy. They don't
try
know.
And I guess tank the other dock shots.
It's working.
See if it works. Yeah.
Patal,
what are you doing?
It did magic.
Yeah, a little cheeky strategy there. Is it worth the investment? I'm not sure. But I feel that Ligefed made a really good call with his double air, but then he hasn't been using it anywhere near as well as he should have.
Definitely.
But he's still managing to win the expansion war, though at this point, Patar is everywhere. I think we might be seeing the limits of where Ligefed can easily expand to.
The only thing that I can see as being the biggest reason that Ligefed is really starting to kind of fumble here is this commander walking. I mean, just basic buildings. He really needs to work on a SimCity for especially Berg. I mean, we've got factories in very unnecessary spaces where you could just line them up and it'd be a lot more space consuming, especially on, yeah, exactly, Patan's base versus Ligefed. I mean, he's got almost the, I think, identical amount of factories, but he's doing it in such a way that he's conserving about half of his base's space, where Ligefed, I think he can only fit maybe 3 or 4 factories, and that's just more time that the commander has to walk, and he has to, you know, spend more time where he won't have those units.
Well, we see a Pelican coming out from Batara as well. He's just picked up one of his fabbers, roaring off to do some expansion. I think he's going to go to the 6 metal round the back, where he's got his docks patrolling at the moment, and it's unfortunate timing because that's when the Air Force of Ligefed is just swinging in now. As the Pelican arrives, that Pelican goes down, the fabber does not drop. Really unfortunate timing there.
Some tanks, though, coming out here for Ligefed. I think he's done this very weird meta mind game thing where he's gone for double air factory into mass tanks, and now he's going into still mass tanks with a commander push?
Yeah, it's quite unusual. I'm not sure, but
it seems very disorganized.
Well, he's expanding over. He's heading for the metal with his commander, which is different. I'll give it that.
You can't have these, Pata. These are mine.
Yeah, well, yeah. He's apparently decided he's going to push out this commander there. He's pushing out very tight. This is like an AI play at this point. He's like pushing out with 3 tanks here, and there's a whole lot of docks waiting to ambush them.
The tanks are pushing out, and those units from Patan will secure that. But if we look where the commander is, these are actually a lot of tanks, and Patan doesn't have any grenadiers to really back this up. So if he wanted to move in and start attacking, I mean, I think Ligefed could do some serious damage. I mean, this is, I think, even numbers here for the tanks, and like I said, as long as the tanks are fighting fair numbers, they will kill those docks easy.
And for all the critiquing of the factory placement by Ligefed, very smartly making sure that his commander is standing between the enemy and the factory so he can complete building but still fight. Finally, Patara making some kind of aggressive move, because considering the amount of docks Patara's had and the fact that he's gone all docks, he hasn't been as aggressive as you might expect someone with that approach to be. And I'm just wondering if he's being scared off by the fact that he's doesn't have air control, and so he's being overly cautious.
Definitely. Really concerned, though, that the air factories have been turned off here for Ligefed. I don't think he realizes that he needs to kind of get some more bombers to clean out these docks. These docks are going to just gut this base because the tanks, I guess they just don't care. They're on strike. They don't want to help this commander out, and I don't know why he's just deciding to kind of forget that, you know, he has to kill someone on this map.
Yeah, it's very strange. He's just letting them run rampage, and he's flying his air force over, but he's got no.
He's got no bombers because they're not building anything.
Yeah. So, and then the tanks coming out getting picked off. Now he should be able to step in a couple of factories there. Ligefed running in with his tanks into the docks. I felt like he should have got better confrontation out of that than he did.
He missed micro. The tanks are shooting the metal extractor.
And he allowed Patari to bunch up there. It took a little too long to push in, I think, and there were more and more docks getting produced. I mean, there was so many docks getting made.
Commander out of position for Ligefed.
And Patar is even bothering to switch to Grenadiers. He's like, no, this Dox thing's just working just fine, thanks. I'm going to crush you with Dox again.
He can. This commander's building walls for some bloody reason. He was in such a commanding position, but he just started throwing away his entire opportunity. These Dox, or the anti-air, don't know what they're doing over in Legia Fed's base, but Legia Fed now has to build a couple fabricators to grab the metal that he used to have. He needs to build more things. He needs to start expanding, but it looks like Patan is in a very good position just economically and everywhere else.
Well, Patan's got to be careful, though, because if he lets Legia Fed lock down that area with walls, it's going to get very tricky for him to come out. It's going to be very easy for Legia Fed at that point to start taking more metal around, because he's got his tanks on one side, he's got this wall on the other, and suddenly it's looking about how do the Dox break out of there.
Well, especially on a map like Berg and I believe Duat, there's actually three sort of escape points for any commander. You have the main one, which used to, or was, I was kind of expecting to be the sort of combox spot right here. Then you have the one where, as you see now, Legia Fed is starting to build the walls up. And then you also have the one off in the distance here, where Patan has started grabbing some of the metal extractors. Honestly, he could just run the Dox out the last point that I pinged there, run them down the entire kind of the speedway or the distance, and then just go back to gutting Legia Fed's base. There really isn't much that he needs to do. These tanks, though, are starting to attack some of these Dox. The Dox need to get out of there. The tanks are going to absolutely just destroy them. And, well, I think Legia Fed's actually pseudo-contained him.
Yeah, I think so. It looks like he's locked him down very effectively. Patar's got mass Dox, but he doesn't seem...
Well, he's switching to Grenadiers now to try and defensive break him.
Yeah, he's gone to... Well, yeah, he's gone to Grenadiers now, but when he was going mass Dox, it felt like that he really needed to be pushing out harder with them, and I'm not sure if it's just that he's been intimidated by the amount of air that was flying out there, even though it wasn't as big a threat. And as we saw, when he finally did get into Leffert's base, he could do so much damage. But a lot of the time, his Dox has been spent standing around his own base.
Definitely very poor decision making out of both players. Patan just seems to still be plagued by that Pieman decision of just constantly giving the game away when he was in a very commanding position. And Legia Fed here with this very wonky, I'll build kind of everything as I'm going and I'll somehow contain you. Now you're going to have Grenadiers. And I'm going to go back to mass air or something. Because, look, there it is. There's the mass air.
Yeah, well, Patar's challenging for Patar's is overly obsessed with taking this 6 metal around the back as well, so his air force is constantly out of position, trying to take that. While Legia Fed is sort of holding the main base. Although at this point, Patar has managed to break out now. It's switched to Grenadiers, but working out well.
Legia Fed can make. He can technically, with the numbers that he has, as long as these Grenadiers don't pick off too many, this is still a very exposed base with the commander still there. I think at this point he needs to find some way to get his air army back in position because there is no anti-air here. Legia Fed, I believe, lost all of his air fighters when he was busy doing whatever he was doing. This commander is going to try and absorb some of the damage. I feel like he needs to get some walls up if he really wants to try and stem this flow. Or Legia Fed just needs to forget this commander, gut the base because he's already lost half of his, and he's going to lose the rest of it just because of the positioning of his army.
Oh yeah, Patar now pushing over. He's going to see almost like a base trade, I think.
Base trade!
Yep. But Patar's stopped advancing into Leffert's base. His troops aren't moving at all. And
same for Legia Fed though. He's completely tunnel visioned on killing this commander, and he's lost all the flamers that would have been absolutely fantastic for all of this beautiful SimCity that Patar has built.
Oh, Legia Fed's going to be in real trouble soon because if he loses those tanks, his commander is advancing and he's got absolutely no support. And Patar's
I mean, what are units besides things to buy your commander's death?
No, what are you doing? He needs to be retreating that commander. That commander is
no. You attack with the commander. The commander is an offensive unit.
I think he's about to lose him. He's way out of position. What on
that commander got his track shoes on and he went for a jog or something. He's literally in the wrong base. I think there was a bit of an issue with spawning locations, and I guess Legia Fed wants to start over on the opposite side.
Oh, I do not understand what he was thinking there.
Commander getting building blocks here.
Yeah, what on earth? Is he thinking he can hold off long enough for the rest of his army to turn up? Because it's looking like perhaps he can.
Yes, that's what he's thinking.
That's a ballsy play, and I really don't like how Patar handled that at all. I think he should have really got in his face. He is taking out Leffert's base though. So again, this is pretty much these are all-in strategies here for Lefferts. He's going in for the win, and if he doesn't get it, then he's pretty doomed. And I don't think he's got enough troops to to win this.
Well, I think he was doomed by the minute that he started walking into Pata's base with his commander. I mean, that just seemed like a very bad decision in general. A very nice composition, but the thing is, the icebergs here on Berg, playing exactly to how these Grenadiers are, and I mean, trying to assault a defensive spot on Berg with Grenadiers, or your opponent having Grenadiers, is exactly what Patan needs.
Yeah, these Grenadiers are working out beautifully for him here, and this tank push is just, it is collapsing.
It's evaporated.
Yep. And the commander in the distance there just, he just doesn't have the numbers. And but Patar,
that Uber shot.
He has stopped pushing into Leffich's base. For God's sake, he just needs to give an attack move, and then he can go to sleep.
Back to the decision making. Pata just, I mean, he's won the game, but just like with Pieman, he's giving Lejafed more time to try and win, even though the commander's now assaulting Grenadiers and
this
shooting.
This is the end of it, I think. This is the end for the Leffichid. Yep, and the explosion goes down. The Grenadiers take the game for him, and some absolutely mysterious. I'm kind of. My mind is boggled. My mind is boggled by what.
That was an interesting decision. I'll give him that.
He's saying bots boring, and he clearly thinks the meta is too bot heavy. But to be quite honest, I think he just lost it to some fairly shocking decisions at the end.
Yeah, he lost it to his own poor decisions. I'll say to the slightest. He spent a good 40, at least, I want to say he spent a good 2 fair minutes of just pure walking. Not building anything, just straight commander walking around, deciding to enjoy the scenery of a giant ice ball. I mean, he spent a good 2 minutes just doing nothing.
Yeah, you can see at the midpoint of the game, there's a lot of metal waste. Sorry, that's coming out from Batar even. But at the end, you see all this these metal spikes from Leffichid here. As he walks his commander around, I'm thinking he just wasn't spending the metal that he had, and I do believe that for a good portion of the game, in the early game, he had the metal advantage, and just didn't manage to turn it into anything. I guess they could probably trying to wall Patar in when Patar had the ability to switch over to Grenadiers was perhaps not the best. I liked his air build. And I don't think he used it anywhere near as well as he should have used it. We saw him make some really poor decisions with his bombers.
Definitely. He never rebuilt them, too.
Yeah.
The 8-minute mark, he just didn't have bombers.
Cassell had one air factory to Leffich's 2, but he'd never have guessed from the way the air war was going.
Cassell?
Oh, good lord. I'm sorry. All of Pierre Gods are just completely interchangeable individuals to me. At least I haven't been calling any of them Klops or anything like that yet.
That's true.
So yeah, so Patar had his one air factory, and he just made better use of it, and his plan worked out. But I'm mystified. It felt like Leffichid was thought of the game is over. I have to go for this all in, and it really wasn't. In actual fact, I think he was ahead. He was
economically he was ahead.
Floating.
I think the biggest thing, or another one of the big kind of nails in the coffin for him, was at about 9 minutes when those donks decided to get in the backyard, or the back of the base for Leffichid. When Patan started kind of killing off the metal extractor, killing off the turret, and then he got an air factory just absolutely for free. Again, Leffichid just never had the bombers that he could have quite easily just flown by, killed them off, no big deal, and then gone back to just kind of winning the game. But it just seemed like his paranoia to even build bombers just killed him, because the air factories are just turned off. They're not even building anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at that. You've got your double air. I mean, why are you going double air if you're surely that's I'm expecting bots and I'm going to bomb them to death. And where were the bombers? And yeah, they run rampage at the back. He doesn't even notice they're there because you see him finally turn his tank army around to go back. The tank army was leaving the base. He takes way too long to notice that his base is actually under attack in the first place, because I think he's obsessed with this push he was making on Patar and just didn't pay attention. And his commander's just all over the place.
I mean, I think there needs to be a segment about commander marching and how it's effectively done. Maybe get Boggles back in here to teach us how to comp push effectively, but that was just everywhere. I mean, that commander was just everywhere.
Well, that was our final game of the Big Bang qualifiers. We now have 8 individuals have gone through to the next stage. So from Group A, we have Monkey Soldier. From Group B, we have Matiz. From Group C, we've got Mott 9001. From Group D, we have Cassell. And from Group E, as we just saw, we have Peg Patar going through. And over in Group F, the Transsexual Empire. Group G, Kalish. And from Group H, Andreas G. And they are all going through to the finals and a chance to compete for the $300 prize pool.